I'm Paul Kimball.
I'm Holly Stevens.
And I'm Dillon Garland.
And we're Beyond Haunted. So here we are, the very first episode of Beyond Haunted, which is the podcast that we're doing sort of to talk about what you folks who are listening hopefully have just seen, which is Haunted, the new television series on Eastlink TV here in Atlantic, Canada. And I'm one of the stars, I guess, and Holly's one of the stars, and Dillon was just the camera guy, but then he turned into a star as the series goes along.
Dillon is definitely a star.
Just the camera guy.
Just the camera guy.
My back still hurts. Don't give me that.
That camera is heavy, and in fact, the funny thing is we were trying to decide, well, what would you talk about, ghosts and all that sort of stuff, but I'm just going to talk about the camera for a second. Because you'll see a couple of shots in the episode, in fact, you've seen them, where I think I'm holding the camera because you're talking and you see me, and then you walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a future episode. Anyway, when you see stuff of us holding the camera, and 90% of the time it's Dillon and maybe 10% it's me or Jim, that thing's really, really heavy. So Dillon, we're going with GoPros from now on, which are really small and light.
I like the GoPros.
The GoPros are awesome. But Dillon, full credit. Given what happens to him during the course of the series.
Dillon's really...
He's a trooper.
Turned around, actually. From the first day to his whole belief system, I think, has been completely turned on its head. Wouldn't you say, Dillon?
I think my existence has been questioned. I think it's a better...
By you or someone else?
Well, that's a good question for you, Holly.
When
I
starts
first
early. Wow. Okay.
There's tension brewing. No, when I first... I didn't expect my career to go the route of ghost hunter, ever. And when we first got into this, I was like, okay, I'm curious what this is going to be like, because you have this preconceived notion of ghost hunters or ghost adventures or something like that. Yeah, I can say that I have questions. I'm definitely more open to whatever might be out there than I was the first day we started shooting. Holly, Paul.
I apologized for everything, and we don't want to give anything away, but anytime I would do something bad, I would immediately apologize and take it back. Oh. But Holly's still fighting, and we'll, those are future episodes that we'll talk about.
Well,
but
let's go right into that, Paul. Let's just go right into that.
Well, wait a second. But the people that are listening, all 7 of them, Mom, Dad,
hi, Mom,
my sister, and my nephews, that covers it, would want to hear us talk about what happened in the episode. So we'll come around to the fact that you're evil, but which is kind of the arc of the series. And Dillon's, sort of the poor innocent that gets dragged into all of this. And, I'm kind of like the Watcher in the old Marvel comics. I just stand back and watch as everything happens. Totally innocent. Uh-huh. But so you and I hadn't done this for 8 years. 8 years ago, we did this on another show called Ghost Cases. And then, we kind of went our own separate ways. What were you expecting going into this? Because we had actually done a location which is not going to air in the series, Dexter's Tavern in Liverpool. So the Queen's County Museum was the second place we had been. Mm-hmm. Dexter's Tavern, it's not that it was a bad location, it's just, sometimes, folks, not a lot happens. It's ghost investigating, you go to houses or wherever, and you might have a night where nothing happens, and that's bad television, so you're not going to see that on Eastlink or anywhere else. And a couple of things happened at Dexter's, but this was the first night where we really, we were getting back into it and everything. And I'm just curious, what did you expect coming back? And, did you think it was going to jump out at us as quickly as it seemed to at the Queens County Museum?
Absolutely not. I had no expectations, Paul, to be completely honest, which I realize sounds hilarious at this point, but you can't have an expectation when you go into a location. You can't expect that you're going to see or hear or experience something. You just kind of have to keep yourself open to it. So there were no expectations that something would happen. I hoped that something would happen. One of the reasons I'm here is because I am very curious about all of the things that we have experienced over the years in our first series, and I still have questions. I'm hoping some of those get answered, but I mean, let's be realistic as we go. I'm just getting more and more questions and a little bit more freaked out, to be completely honest.
That's episode 2 of the Queens County Museum.
Well, sure. But I mean, even in this episode,
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, this episode doesn't have a freak out factor though. There are parts of the series, and folks, when you see future episodes, you'll see people genuinely really frightened and occasionally screaming and stuff. This one was more of it wasn't a slow episode. It was kind of a lead in as we felt our way around the location. So I'm trying to make contact with Mac Tonys, who's an old friend of mine, and who passed away just after we started airing Ghost Cases, actually. So. And then whatever happened with the REM pod, and we can talk about the REM pod because I've talked about it on radio shows, and people will post in the forums. They'll say REM pods are crap, and they don't do anything. They're just fake devices. They're not ghost detecting machines. And to which I usually respond, there's no such thing as a ghost detecting machine.
Nobody says that they were a ghost detecting machine, did
A
they?
good nickname, though, right?
Yeah, some ghost investigators or hunters do in fact, a lot of them do sell them as ghost detecting machines, whereas we use them as just devices that look cool on television, I'll admit that. But, there are devices that if there is something out there, it can interact with that device in some way. And what makes it really interesting, what made this episode, the first one at Queens County Museum, really interesting for me, is whatever you think of the REM pod, there is a way it is supposed to function.
Yes.
And so it doesn't mean ghosts or whatever, but there is a way it functions. And it was not functioning in the way it was supposed to function. It was functioning in a way it's not supposed to function. And, this is not a spoiler, but Dillon and I went, the only time it's ever done that, as at the Queens County Museum.
Yep.
And Dillon and I went back a couple of months later to the East Coast Para Conference, and we led a ghost investigation or whatever for some of the attendees at the Queens County Museum. And it did it again when I called forward Mac Tonys with Greg Bishop, who was another close friend of Mac's there, and Dillon was there. And it did it again. So we went back up. We finished it off because the blue light was, going beep after I'd sort of called Mac down or whatever. And we went upstairs. And Dillon had this idea to take the REM pod, right?
Yep.
And put it, or did Greg Bishop tell you to put it there? I can't remember.
No, I was, because I had it in my hand, and we were walking up to the attic, which was hot. It was just, it's muggy, it's an attic, heat rises. So
Yeah, this was August too.
Yeah.
So it was really hot.
It was not the middle of winter in Nova Scotia. So I had it in my hand, but I was holding the bottom of it so my hand wouldn't affect the rod on it. And as I was going up, it kept blinking blue, which it shouldn't be. No, sorry, it kept blinking red, which it should be doing because that means the temperature is going up and we're going into the attic. So we go to the mannequins again, and I realized that the mannequin head, where the mannequin's head would be, looked like it was the exact shape of the bottom of the REM pod. So I was like, well, this might be funny. So I took it and I put it directly on the mannequin neckline, I guess, and it turned blue.
Yes.
It shouldn't have.
Right, and stayed blue.
Yeah.
So the blue giving the temperature signal that it's colder, and it was not colder up there. And that's how it had misbehaved or had acted in a way it's not supposed to in the Queens County episode. And the whole thing about mannequins, for folks who watch, Mac was not obsessed with mannequins, but it was kind of a thing for him. Some people collect comic books. Mac would go out and take pictures of mannequins. I was there with him in Los Angeles once where he found his store with nothing but mannequins in it, and he went nuts. He was like, pictures of everything. Which in hindsight looked really weird to the people driving by. And that's LA, where most things don't look really weird, but here's a guy taking pictures of mannequins. So when you look at these devices, and the REM pod's one of them, they're not ghost hunting devices. They're just things that if there's something out there, if it can change the way it behaves, then that's of interest. And when folks watch future episodes, you will haul out the ghost box, which
My personal favorite.
I thought was a complete waste of money when we bought it, and it turns out that thing is potential gold in terms of interacting. But anyway, enough digression. So because I wanted to ask you something about the episode. We talked about it a bit, and we kind of leave the episode on a cliffhanger too, where you and I are sitting there talking about theories and stuff. But take me through the Lucy thing again, because I'm still not completely sure, and let's flesh that out for folks listening. How did you, you're just standing there with Kim Bennett, and who was a friend of ours who was along for a couple of these episodes, and what, the name came to you, or how did the whole Lucy thing happen?
So you know how let's say you've forgotten the name of a movie, and you're trying to remember it, but it's just not there. It's just not in your brain, and then you forget about it. And then you're doing something completely unrelated, and then, bam, you think of the name. That's how it came to me. I wasn't looking for it. It just came to my mind.
So you were, because the thing was going on and off, and you and Kim were interacting with it and asking it questions and doing all sorts of stuff. And this was before Kim said anything about, the young girl whose mind wasn't there or whatever, before she went off in the Anne Seeley tack. So this just came to you. And so does the name Lucy mean anything to you in your own personal life in any way, shape, or form? An ex-dog or cat, an aunt or anything like that?
You can't see me right now, but I'm actually thinking, no, it means nothing to me.
Actually, I can see you right now, but
What?
you're referring to the people.
The people watching, Paul.
Oh, okay.
Listening, not watching. I hope no one's watching.
We have a special camera in Tigger.
Oh, creepy.
We have a bunch of Winnie the Pooh things here, and there's a camera in Tigger's mouth, which that sounds weird.
Yeah, let's just no.
say
No, there's nothing. There's nothing in my life.
That's going to be the title of this episode of the podcast. There's a camera in Tigger's mouth.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh gosh. It's like some sort of weird behind the scenes Winnie the Pooh thing that nobody wants to talk about. No, Lucy, no. Nothing.
You?
For Lucy, I've been thinking about it since the day. I don't know a single person, friend, family, friend of a friend named Lucy.
Yeah.
Like, I know actors, but it's not like I know them personally. That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, me neither. And as we sort of said, I think in the episode, although maybe I cut this out. I think I actually cut this out, but at one point we talked and I said, this is not a name that is, it's not like nobody has the name Lucy anymore, but it's not a modern name that you would generally see. If you had to pick the top 10 names you give to a baby girl, Lucy's probably, I'm pretty sure I'm safe in saying Lucy's not there anymore, but 100 years ago or 150 years ago, I haven't done the research, but it would have been more likely that that name would be used more. Interesting thing, we found out, as the episode shows, doing a little research with Linda, that Simeon Perkins, who owned the property originally, had a daughter named Lucy, and a sister too. And the sister died, as I recall, when she was 16, I think. But more importantly, I don't know whether she lived there, but the daughter was terribly burned in a fire at the age of 3 on that property.
That, yeah.
And something else that I sort of discovered after that, which isn't in the episode, but further grist for the mill, Simeon Perkins was a privateer. I mean, he didn't go out and go, and take ships, but he owned them. So he's a privateering owner. And one of his most famous ships that he owned was named
Lucy.
Correct.
Are you serious?
I am as serious can get, yes. So Lucy is a name. And people will think, well, you guys knew that. It's like, nope, good ghost investigators, really crummy researchers. I mean, it's just, we couldn't afford to hire researchers, so we go in blind. But yeah, the Lucy thing, there's multiple strands of that connection there. So it's weird that's just weird. Like, what, does that weird you out? Does it even now? What do you think of all this?
I would have said that on the day, that would have been really strange. Now, comparatively speaking to everything else that's happened to us, that's it.
It's down
odd.
there.
It's odd.
It's odd.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. Maybe I have some sort of... Okay, so here's the thing. So this name comes to me. Do you think that somebody gave me the name? Does that make me psychic? Or did I reach out into the ether and get the name? What do you think that means?
Well, I think it plays on what you mentioned in the episode of this trickster element, where you were discussing, why do we play with cats? You got one name. Other people that were involved, Kim got another. Damn near about the same time that it all went down. So maybe something did give you that name.
For fun.
But that
It's just here's a little piece and go play.
This will be fun. Let's give them two different
Let's
names.
see what happens.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
It's a little, laser on the wall.
That's creepy.
Except you're seeing two different colors.
Yeah, as I said, all three of us experienced the same general thing at the same general time. For me, it was because I specifically tried to communicate with Mac Tonys, because he and I had a bet, or not a bet, but a pact or whatever, that whichever one of us went first, and sadly we both thought we lived to be 100 and it didn't work out that way. Harry Houdini, that person would try and come back and contact the other person, or the other person, which is me now, the one that survived, would try and contact them. So I'm thinking Mac. That's what I'm thinking. So when I'm interacting with it, that's what's in my mind. You've got nothing.
Well, I knew
And-
Mac.
No, but you get something else. Like you weren't being particular about Mac. You just called me down and said, when you mentioned Mac, but that's not particular to you. You get something else, like completely from. I'm not even saying it was Mac. I'm just saying maybe it's one thing
Yeah.
with three different. So it could have put something in your mind, and then Kim gets something else completely different. She doesn't get a name, as I recall. She got an impression of a young girl who wasn't all mentally there. And then when she went to Linda Rafuse, the director of the museum, Linda told her about Anne Seeley, who fits that description, because she was sort of mentally challenged, and they kept her up in the, whatever you call it, the attic, I guess, of the house, because the Seeley family, also privateers, bought the house from the Perkins family, I guess. So all of those three people are real. Lucy exists, more than one Lucy. An Anne Seeley of that description that Kim gave does exist, and Mac Tony's existed. And so we all get the same thing, but different strands coming out. So then, as my friend Greg Bishop would say, is it us co-creating? This is like, I don't know what Kim's background is, so I don't know why she would think that. For me, it's easy. Mac Tony's. I get it. I'm just curious as to why Lucy would pop into your head, but
I see.
it's not a name that means anything to you.
So you're trying to find some connection to make sense of why I came up with that thread for
Right.
that, and I don't have one.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know what name, like Ben. If Ben had come into your head, he's your brother. So that's
That
a
makes
name that
sense.
would make sense. Or Philip, your boyfriend. Lucy doesn't make any sense. And for Kim, I can rationalize it by saying she's not got a name. She's got a description, a feeling. And who knows? That might even have something to do. You could make the argument that has something to do with Kim, and maybe something that she experienced and she's transposing it. I don't know. And in my case, it's my friend, so that's pretty easy. But you're the anomaly. You're the one that really there is no. How does the name? Where do you get that from? Because that's just not a name that I would expect you would get.
It's also interesting too that you get something specific like that, where Kim's getting a description, you're getting very interesting responses about Mac. You're getting straight up a name, and what followed that night, Queens County was a very you location.
Not by choice.
No, I'm not saying it was by choice, but I just found it very interesting that we're all kind of getting, well, those involved are getting these kind of vague answers or vague kind of information, where you're getting the title of a person followed by what came next.
Well, that's interesting. So you think I just reached into the ether, said her name, and then she reached in and said mine back?
Or whatever it is, tried to say what you heard to Kim and Paul as well, but they heard something differently. You were the one that heard it correctly. And then whatever it was stuck to you for the rest of the evening.
Or it was interacting with us all in different ways, and we opened the door. So I opened the door. I literally stood there on camera and said, Mac, if you're out there, come on down. And I put the duck on top of the man, everything. So I opened it. Unbeknownst to me, you and Kim had also, and really, folks, unbeknownst to me while this was all going on, had wandered up to the cemetery and, whatever, called down something to possess me. And we can get into that maybe a little later.
Later?
Because I believe of the sort of three cast members that are sitting at this table, you've attempted to either possess or send the forces of darkness to two of them. That would be Dillon and I.
Holly is very good at trying experiments out.
That's a good way of putting it, yes.
Okay.
She's forward thinking.
Yeah,
Harsh.
there you go.
Harsh. I have never asked for anything negative, ever.
Right.
In fact, I've been very specific.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is our job not to go into potentially haunted locations, open ourselves up to what might be there and experience it? So
Absolutely open ourselves by choice, not go at a cemetery standing on the dead people or whatever.
I did not stand on them. I was specific to make sure I was not inside the gravesite.
You don't know exactly where their feet wound up.
Now, to be to your point, when you said you didn't ask anything bad to possess Paul, Were you expecting him to be possessed by the power of music, or?
I did not specify. I think I can see you gesturing wildly, Paul. That's
We're
fantastic.
going to put a poll up on Twitter, and the poll is going to say,
Well, if we're going to put a poll up on Twitter, I think that everyone deserves to know the truth.
there's no, that's episode
The truth
6.
is out there.
No,
There's
the truth. The truth.
I did
got
not call a
cut.
demon down to possess you.
No, nor did I.
You did. You're on camera saying, if there's something out there, come down and possess Paul. This will be the poll on Twitter, #possess Paul. That #Holly is evil. So, like, has anybody, I'm just curious, has anybody out there in Twitterville ever heard of a benevolent possession? Have, Roman Catholic priests ever shown up at an exorcism and went, you know what, this one's cool?
You don't know until you ask. And to be completely honest, the night before...
You haven't seen The Exorcist, have you?
Not recently.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, the night before, as I remember correctly, which is not on camera because it didn't make it into the episode, we were at Dexter's Tavern.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh is right. Paul comes up the stairs from the basement and he says, I quote, "Okay, Holly, your turn. I may or may not have opened up a demon portal. Have fun."
First of all, I said I may or may not have. Secondly, I didn't, because we have me on camera and we know exactly what I said. And I'm not opening up a demon portal. In fact, I'm actually kind of joking about it.
Oh, no, well, then that's okay, Paul. If you're joking about opening up a demon portal, I'm sure no demons came through.
And thirdly, I didn't say open up the demon portal and demon possess Holly. I didn't particularize it.
It's true. You said, open up the demon portal. Okay, Holly, your turn.
You were just next
Go
up
have fun.
alphabetically.
No
H
offense,
before
Paul,
K.
but you were just next up.
Yeah.
Skipped me
It's
altogether.
the great. Well, we were going to circle back around to the D and C beforehand,
sure.
and we eventually get to that in Yarmouth when Holly apparently circled back around to the D and directed it your way. We don't want to give anything away, but folks, by the time you hit the end of the series,
Stay tuned.
remember this conversation and remember which one of us,
My
of the three of us,
intentions were good. I was thinking about the show. I was very specific. You can let people watch the entire thing. I was very specific. You're welcome to possess Paul. No harm.
Even
for communication purposes only.
oh yes, communicating.
There's no
Oh,
harm there.
The 7th level of hell, Paul. We're going to communicate to you what that means.
Well, what
and
you
what
do
should
with it is not my fault.
Even Kim knew. Even Kim, when standing there, is on camera saying, "You're going to hell for that." The look on your face.
Well, if
when
she
you-
says I'm going, then
when you turn around to the camera, you're like, well, I don't care.
no, come on.
That's another poll we're going to put up. #Holly doesn't care if she goes to hell. As long as she takes Paul and Dillon with her.
No, it was not a malicious
That's a long
act.
hashtag.
It was. What's the word I'm looking for?
I grant that it wasn't malicious.
No, it
I
was
think it was
not.
maybe a little malicious, but sure, whatever.
No, it was not.
It was,
I
it was
wouldn't-
reckless.
I wouldn't. Oh, you think I was reckless?
I do think it was reckless.
Here's the thing. Here's what I think.
Which I'm willing to admit I have done. This is the difference, folks, as you'll know through the series, between Holly and I. I will admit that what I just did was bad and reckless. And Holly's still fighting. Can you just
No.
admit it was reckless?
I just want to use the future hashtag for everybody listening right now, and you'll get this by the end of the series. #future vortex. That's all I'm saying, Paul.
I've admitted that it was reckless. I've
Oh,
totally admitted
snap.
that when somebody tells you they've closed off a vortex, you probably shouldn't go up and try and open it up again.
Oh, it's all fun and games.
All right, fine. #Paul and Holly are evil.
I'm
Let's
not
just
evil.
See, I'm willing to admit it. Holly still fights against the
That's fine.
self-actualization or awareness.
Weird. I've got this weird pain.
Occam's razor,
No,
ghosts.
it's fine. No.
Yeah.
All right, moving on from you sending something down to possess me.
Did you get possessed?
Yeah. Actually, as I point out some other time, I think we did a Facebook Live thing on location. I said, you know what? Something along the lines of, I have a legal excuse now for killing all of you. And then at my trial, I will just be able to show video footage saying, I was possessed, Your Honor.
Good one.
So,
Good one.
What are you writing there,
Write
Dylan?
that
Nothing.
down, Dylan.
#don't work on show again. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm not possessed anymore.
Look, honestly, it comes down to I made a calculated assessment. I thought that should something come... What is happening here?
I just love the fact that, okay, you are trying to explain that you didn't have malicious intent, which I believe.
Good.
And you are saying that, I wasn't possessed, at least I don't think, or if I was, it's all over, whatever like that. I'm sure it's gone now. You guys ever let like a rabid raccoon loose in a kindergarten?
No, who would do that?
Your intent might not be malicious to begin with.
No.
Oh, look
But
at this cute little rabid raccoon.
Oh,
The children will love it.
honestly.
And then you think you get it out, but now the rabies have spread, so it's a bit of a...
That's a very strange analogy.
I was going to go bull in a china shop, but it felt a little too...
You know, it's
Cliche.
rare. It's rare that Holly and I ever agree on anything, but I kind of get agree with you. Like, where do you get a rabid raccoon in a kindergarten or whatever?
I wanted to go to the extremes.
Oh, you hashtag Dillon went extreme. Yes, that's.
I like that hashtag. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. Dillon went extreme.
Hashtag rabid trash panda.
Rabbit.
Nice.
No,
I like that.
no. Okay. Honestly, when it comes down to that, yes, I did that. I said that. I did it for reasons. I was actually trying to get you back for your whole, like, I opened up a demon portal. Go have fun, Holly. So that's fine. But I also did it very carefully. I was very careful with my words.
As she dropped the raccoon into the
I
playpen.
thought that worst comes to worst. Oh my God. Worst comes to worst. Somebody does possess you in a very, non-harmful way. We get it on camera. It's
actually not the
fascinating
worst.
interaction. We get the communication. Fantastic. That's what I'm here for.
As Paul goes running through the museum, swinging an
That's
axe.
why I'm here. I'm here to interact with the paranormal. If it happens to come through you, then so be it.
Ugh.
What happened to Linda Rayfuse? I don't know, but Paul was possessed. We haven't seen her.
Look, and if those actions brought about what happened on episode 2,
Oh, folks, she does get her comeuppance, so you have to
I don't
tune
get
in
my
for
comeuppance.
episode
Couple
2.
of times. Actually.
Yeah, I think Dylan and I are agreeing.
I don't know. This is episode 1 of Beyond Haunted. So yes, we're going to talk about this episode, but I think we're also probably teasing what's to come too.
Right. We all get our comeuppance,
sure.
frankly. Although Dylan didn't really deserve it.
No, but I've accepted it now.
Oh, fair enough.
I know. I
I'm just shaking my head.
I just find it funny because maybe you don't get your comeuppance, but
In order to get your comeuppance, you have to have done something wrong.
ooh, okay, that's a
Tune
good
in,
point.
tune in, folks. Just keep tuning in. You are going to want to see where this goes.
Hashtag Yarmouth House.
Hashtag uncomfortable triangle. That's what we have here at the table right now. Among the like Dylan's drinking and looking away, like I'll have some of my coffee and check
Yes.
to see if there's a rabbit trash panda in the backyard. And
Stop saying rabbit trash panda.
fine, rabbit raccoon.
This is the poll we should do. Who wants to see Paul possessed?
I got to be honest with you.
Seriously, man, you got to be on
I
my
would
side
check.
now.
No, I'd check yes,
Yes.
but hear me out. I would be there with you
I'm coming for you for that's true.
because I'd want it on camera, and
Yes.
you would want it on camera.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the mentality I am talking about.
Plus, here's the truth. You'll know when I'm possessed because she'll say it on camera. But at some point, you're going to wake up possessed and you won't see it coming because she's just going to send it your way on a whisper in a dream kind of thing. And
Whisper in a dream. Who
Yeah.
says that? It sounds like lyrics to a song.
I was a songwriter, so and I'm possessed right now. So that's not me speaking.
Your voice is very.
That's
is the same.
Glargrog.
Oh, no,
Glargrog
No, it's a demon from the second level of hell or something.
is a rejected Lord of the Rings villain.
Rejected everything.
I am Glargrog.
No.
You
Vito.
shall not pass.
You shall not pass, Glargrog.
So I got a question for you two, just in case. No, it's not.
I know. Every
What other
time.
demons did you release? No, I just thought it was interesting because
Good question.
This was my first foray into the ghost hunting, demon running from experience, and I was curious because you guys have done it before, with varying results of pretty scary stuff.
Sure,
I've heard some stories about you,
Yes,
Paul.
Yeah.
Holly's giving me a little insight on what's going on. So when you guys are jumping back into this, is there something in the back of your mind that's saying like, if this happens again, I'm out?
Yeah.
Or are you fully
No.
open to let's just jump into this, see what happens, and let's go again?
Yeah, there's a reason. One of the reasons I left the last time was, you read the book. Buy my book, folks. Hashtag buy my book. There's a chapter in there about a shadow person that I encountered in Chesky Krumlov, which I didn't like talking about. Holly was actually there with me, although she wasn't there with me, but we were in the same city, town, whatever, together. And I didn't tell her at the time because I thought I've spent months ghost hunting or whatever with Holly. We've done seen strange things. And you know what? I actually think if I tell her this, she will finally think I'm nuts. Like this could be because you're walking through a town, you see shadow people or whatever, and then they touch you on the shoulder and everything. So I've seen weird and I've experienced weird stuff. And their ghost cases I think are all available online now, so folks can go find
Amazon
it.
Prime.
Right, especially if you're in the U.S. I don't know if you can get it in Canada. Anyway, a lot of interesting stuff happened to us. I was strangled in quotation marks, in a jail cell by a ghost, and she heard horses' hooves in a cemetery and on the Welsh border. And I mean that doesn't even begin to cover it, but just weird stuff. And I'm convinced that is kind of like, if there's a crazy sort of chamber of horrors and fun and everything, and that was the antechamber, and now we've walked through the door and we've landed into bizarro world. Because whatever happened in ghost cases pales except maybe the shadow people for me and Chesky Krumlov.
Oh, that wasn't actually in the show though.
No, but but it's, to me, it's also, it pales in comparison to what we've experienced this year. But there's a reason why the show isn't called Ghost Cases. Well, there's two. One is legal, but another one is, it could have been called Ghost Hunters or, something like that. We could have picked.
That
Probably
also
legally
exists.
couldn't call it that either.
But we could have found something, Ghost Files, whatever. You can
Right.
always, Ghost does not appear in the title of the current show. It's called Haunted. And some of that's about maybe the places we're in, maybe they're haunted. But you know what? I called it Haunted for a reason, which is, and I didn't really ask Holly about this, but I just kind of assumed. But if it wasn't applicable to her, it sure was to me, that I was still haunted by what happened 8 years ago. And so I think as you go through this, we've all been joking around. We really do hate each other, but but I do think there's this element that as we go through season 1 of Haunted, people become haunted, and not like you're being possessed by a demon or a ghost, and maybe we were, but you become haunted by what's happening, mentally haunted, emotionally haunted.
Yes.
And it sticks with you. And we saw that, with Kim, it had a effect on her. I think it had an effect on all of us at one point or another. And there's an episode later in the season where, I really went off the rails and just was like viciously angry at Dillon. And folks will see that when it happens. And that's just not me. Like, that's not in my character. But sometimes the places and just what's happening to you, and then you start to change. And so that's part of the question of whatever it is, if there is an it, is interacting with you and just the nature. Because, I mean, frankly, using my cat metaphor, it's fun with the cat or the rabbit trash panda if you use the laser light for like 30 seconds. But if you do that to a cat for 10, 15 minutes, I mean, the cat starts to go a little nuts. And I've seen it happen where people will over-egg that pudding, and all of a sudden, you're moved from play to torment.
Yeah.
And there's a line there. And if we're dealing with something, then if episode 1, the Queens County Museum, looks like play, then I think it does. Nothing bad happens, really. Stay tuned for episode 2, folks, when it might move from play to torment. And whether you view it as somebody getting their comeuppance or all of us getting something dumped on us, and that would happen. Most of these episodes are structured as 2-parters. So a lot of what folks will see in the series is the first episode, I think, judging by how I've edited them and how the nights went, is usually kind of the preamble, and then stuff happens. Stuff happens. But then in the second part, it goes from almost every time from playful to torment or to ramped up or whatever you want to call it. So and then it becomes almost like Seaside. When we were in Seaside, it starts to feed on the energy that we. Yeah. So as the cat goes crazier, as you use the little red laser light, then you tend to sometimes move the laser light. Like, this is not enough for the cat anymore. The cat seems bored by just moving it left to right. Now I'm just going to wind it all up and the cat goes crazy. So that's part of the element of what my friend Greg Bishop talks about, of a co-creation, where we're working with whatever it is to create these experiences, and it's pushing us, and then sometimes we're pushing ourselves. And so those are the interesting intellectual questions that I think of when I'm sitting in the basement of some rat-infested jail cell or something in Yarmouth or whatever, and going, this is cold and creepy, and as I think of it being cold and creepy or whatever, then maybe that just makes it colder and creepier, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. So if you're going to play, let's talk Queen specific with this. So we had done Dexter's, and now this was our second location. And I guess, Holly, I'll more turn this towards you. When you got to Queens, was there anything that stood out to you right away? Because when I got in there, I didn't feel uneasy, but I felt a little weird in the archives room. And the painting of Miss Gorham, which, if you'll stick with the season, you'll know that I am not a huge fan of the Miss Gorham painting in a future episode. She freaked me out. Something about her freaked me out. Was there anything when you got to Queens that just stood out and it's like, okay, that's weird. I feel weird in this room or at this object or anything like that?
Yes. Usually when we get to a location, I take a little bit of time to just kind of move through it on my own to see if anything sticks out or grabs my attention. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it actually grabs my attention. But in the case of when I first got there, there was a couple of places that, I don't know how you want to describe it, vibrated differently. There's like an energy sense to it. One of them was in the room that we potentially contacted Mac Tony's in.
The playroom.
Yeah.
Area. Yeah.
And the other one was the archives room, specifically in that back corner that we ended up investigating.
Yeah.
In episode 2.
Yeah.
I think
Is that in episode
That's an
2?
episode 2.
Right. So we kind of end episode 1. We're sitting there chatting, and then talking about
Oh, and
laser
then-
cats and everything.
Right.
And then, folks, when it says to be continued, it literally will pick up right there because seconds later,
Yep.
something happens. And that something leads into a string of events that lasts for about an hour, really. And then after that string of events ends, the evening kind of peters out because we were it blew our minds kind of thing.
That was the room that kept on giving.
The archive room.
Yeah.
You could hear noises in that room of somebody upstairs, and there was nobody there. Mm-hmm. And I kept calling you in because I'd be like, Paul, I keep hearing these noises. And you were sitting with me there for a while. Did we end up hearing anything while you were there?
Yeah. That's all episode 2.
Oh, there you
So
go.
we're teasing and cold anomalies and all sorts of other stuff. It was, it's the room that keeps on giving. Nothing really happened out in the main museum room, did it? I don't think.
No. It's funny. You mentioned this before about the Paracon thing. We actually, myself and Linda Rayfuse, who's she's actually featured a lot in these 2 episodes. We did a ghost box session out on the what was the ship called?
Oh, the Liverpool Packet.
Yeah,
They've
Liverpool Packet.
recreated the deck of an old privateering ship.
Yeah,
It's
and
really cool.
It's awesome. We did a ghost box session there during the Paracon weekend, the same weekend that we did the kind of Mac Tony's retest. We had a lot going on. A lot. But for us, for the show, it was more or less those back rooms. Those 2 back rooms and the void.
From the privateer boat?
Yeah. Was there anything that maybe we didn't see that happened on the...
We didn't spend any time when we were shooting the episode there. How do you describe it? Because it felt off, but I
Really?
kind of chalked that up to potentially just sound vibrations. There was a large fan there, and that can sometimes set people at unease. Because we didn't have anything else happen while we were there, I kind of ruled it out. But I may have been wrong.
No, I think you were probably right because when we
Yeah.
went back for the Paracon, the fans were the source of numerous people saying lights, but also vibrations. And every time you go, no, it's the fan, and they'd say, no, it's not. And it
okay.
was. So, we debunk a fair amount of stuff, including in episode 2, there's a thing that we debunk and say, look, that is not what we heard, but it's also, if anybody thinks this is paranormal, it's not. And I think that's important too, is to say, look, we joke, we say Occam's razor, ghosts. That's our first inclination. We also say ghosts good, demons bad, coming to a hashtag t-shirt for haunted near you soon. But
Yeah, I need one of those.
yeah, we all kind of need one of those. But you want to make sure that your first impulse and then your second, third, fourth, and fifth one is we can explain this. There's an explanation for this. In episode 2, I swear on a stack of Batman comic books and all that I hold holy, the original Frank Miller Dark Knight, not the later ones, which is good, that it is the single best piece of evidence, this is me teasing the next episode,
Sure.
that is unexplained. I challenge anyone to explain
Oh,
it.
please, yes.
and especially when you see the circumstances in which it happens, the context in which it happens, the single best piece of evidence I've ever seen on any ghost show, caught on camera, but more importantly on audio. And then think of this. I don't think that happens unless, I'm not trying to start another fight, Holly calls for my possession and I open the door up to Mac Tony's. And if we're not all open-minded, and frankly, sometimes being ghost jerks, in my case, ghost dancing, which Holly participated in too, I have to say.
Ghost dancing.
Ghost dancing, which is the best part of the first episode, honestly.
It's the best part of the whole series.
And we had reports of shadow people there. So there we are in front of Mrs. Gorham's painting in a room where supposedly paranormal things happen. And we were, kind of being, as I call it, somewhere else, ghost rogue or ghost dicks or ghost jerks or whatever.
Let's go with ghost rogue.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to go with the second one, but yeah. Ghost,
Yeah, there you go. It depends on
Ghost Richards.
Ghost Richards, yeah. Ghost Nixons. There, that's hashtag Ghost Nixons. I like that.
Oh no.
I don't know if we should get political with our ghost.
I'm not even trying to get political. He's the one president so far that's had to leave office facing impeachment. I think it's safe to say totally not a great guy. And Ghost Nixons is meta. I like it. Anyway, so unless we had done all that stuff and maybe rouse something up, or it's like kicking the dirt and then the sand will fly up and it might not go where you think it's going to go. Mm-hmm. Or as a friend of mine did once when they tried to release the ashes of his grandmother on the Pacific coast and, into the ocean, and the wind switched just as they, anyway.
You got to test the waters first.
Yes, you wind up breathing in grandma. So, which actually really did happen.
That's, yeah.
Because you can't control it. That's my point.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you just said that, I think every one of us at one point or another antagonized something in the room.
I think Chelsea's pretty clean.
Well, yeah. Well, Chelsea's got to listen to us, so she's our audio person, so she doesn't really get to talk when we're filming. But I think it's interesting because you just talked about us being ghost Nixons. The one thing that I found interesting, and I won't get into too many details because maybe we'll talk about this more in depth next week, but there are elements in this episode to discuss. Holly was very nice and welcoming.
Mm-hmm. I always am.
But with this one, with what we had talked about with Anne and what we talked about with Lucy, I have a theory, and I'll save it until the next time.
Ooh.
I just have a theory. Well, it goes one of two ways. One, you were being nice, so if there was something out there, that may have connected to you because you were being open, you were being welcome, you were being very soft-spoken. Mm-hmm. Or the other side of that is they were taking advantage of your niceness.
Yes.
There's two major sides to that.
It's possible.
She was being nice at times, and she usually is, but without getting into the blame game again, when she's up there doing the...
Sounds like blame to me.
In the museum, I mean.
I know, but if there's a connection, if there's a Gorham thing, she is up there with Kim at the grave and doing something that, most professional, quotation mark, professional ghost investigators, hashtag laugh, 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 will probably look at us and say, well, you guys don't know what you're doing. No, I won't even hashtag that guy. But, there are these people who think there's a way you have to do it. They will hate what we did. You at the grave, me, ghost dancing.
I'm not allowed to be at a grave.
No. How we act when we're there. You're supposed to be respectful and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes in this episode, not you, but Holly and I were not, and you were part of the ghost dancing thing, so you were twirling the light. And, we're all involved in that. And so maybe... we're nice. I was nice to Mac. Like for once, I was a really nice guy throughout the whole experience. But the ghost dancing and the grave stuff, and that's the counterpoint to your point, Dillon, which is we weren't always nice. We weren't always behaving, minding our P's and Q's, if you will.
But I'm also curious if, my theory, the whole trickster thing with most of this season. There's also the chance that maybe we're dealing with more than one.
Sure. There are 9 levels of hell.
Yeah.
Prove it.
What was that?
Oh, the truck just went by.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't think it was a ghost. I was just curious what that was.
That was for dramatic effect.
Is that your truck impression?
Yes, that is my truck impression. Thank you.
Worst truck impression ever.
Hey, I was nice.
Sorry.
I guess one, because I'm a bit of an outsider when I came into this, because I've never done this before, and you guys are, I don't want to use the term seasoned vets, but you've done it before. You've been in this world before. So my question to you, and to tease the kind of rest of the season, when we were doing this episode and things started to happen, what was kind of became your goal moving forward?
Well, after the initial, okay, I keep going back to that one thing, and that's in the next episode. So, lost for words.
Mark the time.
No, stop it. I'm thinking. Oh my God. I'm an open person. I'm interested in seeing what is available to be experienced.
Sure.
That's my goal. And when it comes to the paranormal, Paul's making faces, I don't have explanations. I have theories. I have seen some stuff. I have heard some stuff. I could not have done this season without having done a previous season. I wouldn't have been ready mentally, spiritually. Okay. I wouldn't have been able to be available to receive whatever it is that's communicating.
You would have been more closed off.
I would have been more closed off.
Okay.
And I don't know that I mentally would have been able to handle what I think has been happening in this season if I hadn't experienced something before. Because it's given me 8 years to question myself, question my environment, question my world, the universe. And I have. I don't know if I have answers, but
sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Paul?
I mean, I kind of joke. I just don't like being on camera. It seems like I do, but the truth is, for me, it's just sometimes the older I get, the less I want to be around any people. So actually, the ghosts are the part about the show I like and doing it. I like the solitude, actually. So I like going up into the void and, seeing if there's something. I don't want it to be a demon, but if there's some other thing out there, then as long as it's not harmful, then I'm willing to play along. The problem is, as you say, it's like putting a rabid raccoon into, actually, you know what? I was going to say it seemed like a good idea at the time. No, that doesn't seem like a good idea at any point when you have the rabid raccoon.
Sure.
Unless you're trying to get it away from you and your only other option is a kindergarten. Maybe that's where you were going with that.
Why?
Oh, no, I was going with the sense of I know this is dangerous, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm curious what happens. That's more or less.
But that's living in general.
That's sociopathic too, but that's okay. That's fine. That's how we roll. Isn't it?
Awkward.
Sure.
Anyway, so I'm happy to be in these rooms. I like doing the alone stuff. I get weird when it gets weird when there's more than one of us. So in episode 2, when you see something happen to Holly, she's not alone. Actually, Chelsea's there. So
well, she's definitely not alone. Even if Chelsea wasn't there.
Well, yeah, no, there you go.
That was fun. Yes.
But yeah, it's like. What was the question? Did 8 years ago make any difference to what we're doing now?
No, more or less. I'm just trying to understand, like, because you've done this before,
right?
So when you do it again, it's a TV show, and then things start really getting weird. Was there a question that popped up that you wanted to know, or did you change your goals? I was like, okay, stuff's happening. Now I want to know why. Is that kind of where you were coming from?
No, stuff didn't stop happening for the 8 years between Ghost Cases and Haunted for me.
Oh, okay.
So, it's, not every day, but when you experience it, you know it's there. Things like synchronicities. Suddenly coincidences sometimes turn into synchronicities. You view things differently. Deja vu, maybe you view that differently than you would have. You're more aware that there might be more out there than just, as Brian Ferry would say, there's more than this. So, I think that's what Ghost Cases did for me. I was already open-minded. It really kind of blew the hinges off the doors. I'm still a skeptic at the end of the day. Yeah. But like in episode 2, when you get there, folks, I don't know. I can't explain it. I have trouble, even if that hadn't happened, I'd still look at this episode and go, well, I don't know. The REM pod's supposed to work one way. It didn't work that way. It worked in a different way. And fine. My really skeptical debunkery friends would probably say, well, that's because the batteries were weak, or they would find technological reasons for that. But for me, it's always about context in anything like this. So the fact that Dillon and I went back 3-4 months later and had the exact same experience repeat itself in the exact same place in pretty much the exact same way, and it had never done that in any other location, to me, that's context. Yeah. So that makes it much weirder, which is why during the season, I purposefully, as the sort of director and the person who's trying to figure all this out, I guess, in the post, I purposefully had this idea that each episode will also be interconnected to the other ones. So a lot of ghost shows, and I'm not ragging on them, but they do, hey, here we are at X, we do X, we leave, and we never reference X again.
It's a one-off.
Yeah,
each
they're
time,
one-offs. For us, there are no one-offs in this season, I don't think. I think every episode contains a callback to one that came before. And when we get to the 13th episode, which is a cliffhanger that will end the season, it's a real cliffhanger. And but it's an honestly earned cliffhanger because I think everything that's happened up to that point leads us to a place, sitting in a basement somewhere, Holly and I with Dillon watching a monitor as we're down there, and Dillon's invested because of, I'm just going to say, potential demon stuff and things, and something happens. And I think everything we did, starting at the Queens County Museum and maybe even starting in Dexter's from the day we showed up, leads us to that place.
Yep.
And then, you'll have to wait until, I don't know, February to see where we're clearly all still live. So
Clearly.
we're ruining that part. Nobody dies or anything. But
Spoiler.
I think it's interesting because it seemed to be, and in context, like you said, is very important. The ghost gear that we use. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of that, I think you're right. Some people will be like, "Oh, that's not how that works." It's and like you said, there's no such thing as a ghost detector. Like, that doesn't exist. But the stuff that we use, it always shows us when the space is changing. Mm-hmm. And it's when that happens and then other stuff happens. Because we have this kind of snowball effect, and without spoiling anything, we start with one idea, and the more places we go, that idea seems to grow more legs every single time. And it's just this, like, we've got new theories because this happened here. But wait, does that tie back to here? It's this very interesting spider's web of just events.
yes, spider's web is a good analogy too, because it traps you.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah.
We're little flies flying around. Then suddenly you realize, oh, this looks shiny, and then, maybe this isn't good. And that's the thing. Is this good or is this bad? If there is something out there, are we, here's some questions to leave ourselves with and to leave yourselves with, folks, when you're listening, because you can do all the things that we're doing. You can buy all the ghost gear that we have. I know, because we bought it online. Mm-hmm. You can go to a lot of the place. You can go to the Queens County Museum. There you go. The episode you just saw. You can go there.
Leave a tip.
Leave a tip. They don't even charge admission, but if you go there.
Wonderful people.
You probably couldn't get up into the void, although if you ask Linda, she might lay up there. But you can definitely go to the room where the REM pod activity happened. Mm-hmm. You can go into the archives. You can go pretty much everywhere we went. And because Linda Rayfuse is big into ghost investigating and stuff, runs a paranormal group of her own, she'll probably be happy to kind of show you around.
Yeah.
So great, you can go do that. Then the question becomes, is anything that we're doing inherently dangerous? And I have friends on both sides who believe in this stuff who take two different views. No, one, Linda Rayfuse, no harm.
Sure.
These are all pleasant, benevolent spirits. And I have friends on the other hand, the other side of the coin, who, Holly's hand just went up, who say, you know what? A trip to a shaman in Peru or southern Arizona or something, or a priest or whatever to cleanse you of evil spirits. Maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe we should have done that 8 years ago.
Yes, thank you.
But we didn't get paid now, so we couldn't afford to go to Peru.
Also true.
Yes. So somehow we get to the Czech Republic, though. Anyway, do they have shamans in the Czech Republic?
I didn't check, but Europe is.
They have
cheap
shadow
once
people.
you're there.
Yeah, it's true. So that's the question you have to wrestle with. And I think during the season, sometimes you'll see people in episode 2 of Haunted next week, Queens County Museum. You'll see Holly legitimately like scared, and that other people around her getting weirded out, if not scared, but weirded out for Holly. And then, you know what? I kind of know how this goes. Other episodes, we go back to being our jokey selves. But as you watch the series, what you will see happen, hashtag teaser, hashtag spoiler, a bit, and it becomes, the haunted part really does ring true. And I think you see people change. I think you see all of us change in terms of, and whether you view it as us getting our comeuppance or having a door open or however you want to view it, at the end, sirens coming,
Not for us.
No, but it's a running joke with my friend Greg Bishop on his radio show, Radio Mysterioso. He always has a siren come through. So this is a Greg Bishop moment. We're talking about Tony's
Nice.
synchronicity, mind blown.
Synchronicities.
But yeah, everybody changes. And I think that's part and parcel of it. The thing I don't know, to answer your question, I don't know whether the changes are good or bad. And I don't know what we're dealing with, if we're dealing with anything. And that's the skeptic in me still.
Sure.
I don't know if it's good or bad. But if I had to guess, like judging by the evidence available in season 1, I lean towards bad. Or at the very least, if not evil, then something that doesn't particularly care one way or another what happens to us. It's more about its amusement or whatever it's getting from us. And if it harms us, it doesn't care. Maybe it doesn't mean to harm us, but it just doesn't care. That's kind of where I'm at. And I'm trying to think in episode 1, did anything happen in episode 1 that sort of leads me in that direction? You know what?
Not yet.
No, just 3 things, 3 different people experiencing things in 3 different ways, all stemming from the same thing. That, to me, is the beginning of something that is potentially playing with us. And it doesn't mean that the spirit of your dead grandmother, whatever, isn't also in the house. I just think we joked. There's one location we go to that sort of maybe it was real and maybe it wasn't. That's what we had heard going into it. And Dylan and I would joke, say, well, it doesn't matter if they have their own ghosts. We're bringing ours, with us. We packed them up and they're traveling with us as we go along. Maybe we'll just leave them here.
We're a sideshow.
Yeah, we're a traveling carny sideshow of haunted people. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying I don't know, but it worries me. I have to admit, it worries me. Sometimes it worries my wife. If she ever finds out that we have a Ouija board, uh-oh.
But she's not going to listen to this.
Probably,
Linda, don't listen to this.
Oh, God.
probably would have stopped listening by now. But yeah.
I just want to add to the REM pod thing, 'cause I wrote this down. I forgot to talk about it. We did, like you said, we went back and tried the REM pod in the exact same spot, exact same kind of scenario, and it went off the same way again. Now, I know what some people will be saying. I was like, well, it's probably just a place. Something's in that place that's causing it to do that. Sure. What we forgot to mention was we tried it a 3rd time, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
It acted normal. There were no blue lights. So it's not the space.
No.
Because we tried it 3 times. And the 2 times that were kind of Mac related, it went off.
Right. And those were in 2 different spaces.
Sure.
So when it went off in the episode, you see us in the playroom or whatever it's called. When it went off, it did go off for us at the Paracon. But where really the freaky bit was up in the
Upstairs.
void.
Yeah.
Which is a part of the show. Because you folks, if you're wondering what happens to Zorgrot, he's not still there. But, things... So we set this stuff up too. That's what happens sometimes. You set these things up. So there's Zorgy sitting on top of a mannequin and maybe something's going to happen.
Did you just say Zorgy?
Yeah, that's his nickname.
Okay, cool. Hashtag.
Yeah, no, for years I ran a online, like people could vote. Hundreds, thousands of people would vote. And they were an award that you would give out to paranormal researchers, people who ran websites and news sites or whatever, radio shows. And they were called the Zorgies.
No kidding.
And you can go find some of these places. And it was a picture of Zorkrot. And it would just say Zorgie Award winner, like 2009, Daily Grail. And people actually wanted one because the paranormal world, you don't get a lot of awards. There's no Oscar in the paranormal world, really.
Shoot.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, sorry. There's no Oscars for us folks. And that's probably a good thing. So, you never find out. I just want to tell folks, Zorgrot survives. But that path we wanted to take, which I kind of hope something would knock, you never see Zorgrot. Here's a total spoiler. In episode 2, you don't see Zorgrot again. You never find out what happens to the duck. I'm telling you now, because things got spun out of control.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say we almost forgot him at the end of the night, but it's possible that we could have because we were just so weirded out by everything that happened. Like that whole strand of what we wanted to do, or at least what I wanted to do, that plan that I had, gone.
Yeah, plans seem to go out the window very quickly.
Yes.
With what we did this season.
Yes. Like
almost immediately.
There's another place, where it's not a spoiler, but we were in a place and I had a whole plan. And a creepy little baby doll ruined my plan, or at least totally sent me sideways into a different direction.
That.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can find all these places. Another place had a plan, and a swastika armband might have sent that plan flying out the window, or a door that didn't open. Like, so you find these plans. I love this because I wasn't there. So there's a place, won't tell you where it is. You'll know it when you get there, folks. Roughly halfway through the season, where Holly went off to investigate, I think, a sound or something that you had heard. And this is totally not in the playbook. And going into a place, you'd look at it and you go, this is just like a basement room. There's nothing down here.
Right, yeah.
And so in the most innocuous looking place where you would just say, there's can't possibly be anything weird that's going to happen here. Weird stuff. And so it's the gift that keeps on giving, because I didn't actually know about this until I sat down to edit the footage. And I went through all the footage and went, holy crap. A, nobody told me. B, if I'd known, we would have followed up on this, because we would have gone down and filmed it and set up cameras and stuff. You know why nobody told me? Because then things started getting really weird in that location. Cameras started moving, all that sort of stuff that went on. And even something weird, and it was genuinely weird, what Holly experienced, gets overshadowed by something exponentially weirder.
Yeah.
And then it's like being on one of those, you remember, what was it, Land of the Lost?
Yep.
With the slee stacks, and they get in the boat and they go through the river and they go down into I just wanted to say slee stacks.
Yeah, fair.
But it's like being on one of those white knuckle rafting things, and you have no idea where the raft's going to take you, though.
Yeah.
And you think you're fine because everything slows down, and then all of a sudden you're at a waterfall?
Yes. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, whoa.
It's funny because you explaining that, it's almost like something doesn't want us to be in control.
Well, we're
And
not.
the second that we start getting in control, or we start getting comfortable with our plans, there's a wrench.
Well, that could be the benevolent part. See, this could be something trying to remind us in a good way that there's more than all this for all of us, and that we're not in complete control. And, then you get into spiritual, religious, all sorts of other conversations that people have been having for thousands of years, and philosophical conversations about, free will, Arminianism versus Calvinism, all that stuff. Who knows? Like, there's a good question. We could have an entire series debating what we had done, and then debating the concept of free will, whether we have any, versus the idea that everything is preordained or planned, or somebody is leading us. So it's almost a metaphor for the two different versions of the Christian God, the one that has a plan for us and the one that says, hey, enjoy and we'll settle up when you're done, kind of thing.
Right, yes.
I've
Nice
distilled
way of
2,000 years of Christian theology right down there into a capitalistic metaphor, but sure, whatever. So, I think that's some of what's going on too. And these are the kind of things, I don't know. I'm not willing to say that we're the most intellectual ghost show ever, but I don't notice a lot of other ghost shows tackling the big picture questions of what it all means. For them, it's mostly experiential. Saw something, almost always at the end, it was a demon or it was a ghost, and we've solved your problem. I think we can all agree on this. We are perfectly happy to admit, don't know what it is. Pretty sure we haven't solved it.
Nope.
And I'm pretty sure it's not their problem, whatever house we're in. It's actually more our problem.
It's definitely our problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. This will probably not wind up being a full hour. I'll cut it down to like 40 minutes or something. But
Sure.
If it sounds like stream of consciousness, it is, because that's what these experiences bring out. I encourage everybody to go down to the Queens County Museum for two reasons. One, it's a really cool museum. Mm-hmm. You'll see these places we go to. Almost every location is on the South Shore.
Oh, man, the best clams. I had the best clams down in Port Mattoon.
Oh, that's that little restaurant on the day
Mattoon?
off. You would Port Mattoon, yes.
Mattoon,
Yeah.
Sorry, Linda. Port Mattoon.
I mispronounced it too. I said Port Mouton. I thought it was French, but no, it's Port Mattoon. So
it's a different debate.
We hit up Liverpool, Shelburne, Barrington Passage. No, Barrington. Not Barrington Passage.
Yeah, it wasn't quite Barrington
Yeah,
Passage.
it's Barrington. Clark's Harbor, Yarmouth. Not the town. I love Yarmouth, just the place we were in. And Parsborough and Amherst. Those were our locations. Oh, and Wolfville. Oh, no, that's season 2. Sorry. So Parsborough and Amherst. And there's, I would say there's a lot of stuff down there that you can visit. But of the locations we went to, I can think of at least 3 or 4 that you could actually go to yourselves. And the Queens County Museum is at the top of that list. So
I want to go back. Are we going back?
that's what. Well, funny thing, watch episode 2, and then, folks, we have been renewed for a second season. One of the episodes that we're doing in season 2 is going to be a return to the Queens County Museum.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I am super excited.
And the selling point is, and you'll see this in episode 2, it's already been weird in episode 1. When you see what happens in episode 2, and also what Dillon and I experienced when we went to the Paracon, you will understand why we want to go back, because we have unresolved, not issues, but
Well, that's true.
we all have that, but unresolved, a ton of threads, questions, whatever, that haven't been answered. So that's going to be in season 2. So there you go. Not only do you have episode 2 to look forward to, the return to Queens County Museum as well.
I'm very excited for episode or part 2 to air.
I know. I want to hear. Tell us what you think. Seriously.
You'll have to wait until next week.
Yes. Wait until next week.
But you can. We are using hashtag HauntedNS is the hashtag that we're using for the series. Also, that Eastlink is using. You probably saw it on the screen. Hopefully, they got it up. I don't know because I haven't seen it what they broadcast yet. But feel free to hashtag NS. Go to @HauntedTVSeries on Twitter. That's where we're at. And you can also find us on Facebook. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but if you go to Haunted, you'll find us.
Just Haunted.
Right.
Haunted TV series.
And the one-stop shopping, www.winterlightproductions.com. That's the company that runs this show and all of our other shows. So you can find out more information about Haunted there.
And I will say too, I'm going to be live tweeting during every new episode. So if you are interested in kind of talking with some of the cast and crew, it's probably me on my Twitter.
Yeah, well, you'll
through
be
Haunted, maybe.
I'll be live tweeting too. So
Okay, perfect.
I'm at Paul Kimball Film, and you're
At Dillon Garland.
right.
And I'm at Lalowin. That's LALOWIN. I'll explain later.
Right. If you go to at Haunted TV Series, I'll put these all up, and you can find us all on Twitter and stuff. And tweet us, follow us, like us,
Or not.
rant at us, tell us we're stupid, whatever. Like
Please don't do that.
And on the good side, let
just
us know some
engage.
theories, because I like chatting with people about theories. And like we've said, we don't know yet, so we don't have a definitive answer. But it's kind of fun to just see what other people think. So yeah,
Thanks for tuning in.
yes.
Thank you. So this has been Dillon Garland, Holly Stevens. I'm Paul Kimball, and this has been us going beyond Haunted.
That was us.
That was totally us. Is that a raccoon?
Not the nursery.
Oh no! Oh my God, he put it in the nursery. I thought it was just a playground. The
Well,
kids
I
had
needed
a chance
the-
to run.
I needed to up the game here.
These kids can't even walk yet. It's just-
Rabid raccoon?